There's a quiet revolution happening right now that's about to create the biggest supply crisis in silver's history. And most people have absolutely no idea this is coming. Solar panels are consuming silver at a rate that's completely unprecedented. And the numbers I'm about to show you will blow your mind. In 2023, solar panel manufacturing consumed 197 million ounces of silver. That's a 77% increase year over year. In 2024, that number jumped to 257 million ounces, another 31% increase. But here's where this gets absolutely insane. By 2030, solar panels alone are projected to consume 546 million ounces of silver annually. That's more than half of current global mine production going to just one industry. Smash the like button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you knew solar was consuming this much silver, and subscribe for more silver content, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see the entire energy transition. Let me start by explaining exactly why solar panels need silver in the first place. Every single photovoltaic panel contains 15 to 25 grams of silver. That doesn't sound like much until you understand the scale of global solar installation. Silver's role in solar technology isn't optional or replaceable. It's absolutely critical. Silver has the highest electrical conductivity of any metal on Earth at 63.0 megasiemens per meter. It also has exceptional thermal conductivity at 429 watts per meter Kelvin. These properties make silver irreplaceable for the front contact fingers, bus bars, and soldering connections in solar cells. These components ensure that electricity generated by solar cells flows efficiently and maximizes energy conversion. Without silver, solar panels simply don't work as effectively. Now, here's where the demand shock really starts to materialize. The International Energy Agency projects that solar energy will become the dominant renewable energy source globally by 2030. Solar capacity is forecast to grow at a 17% compound annual growth rate through 2030. From 2024 to 2030, over 4,000 gigawatts of new solar capacity will be added globally. That's a 500% expansion from current levels. And every single one of those gigawatts requires silver. Let me break down the math for you, because when you see these numbers laid out, the supply crisis becomes undeniable. In 2015, solar panels consumed only 54 million ounces of silver, representing about 5.59% of total silver demand. Fast forward to 2024, and solar consumed 257 million ounces, representing 19% of total silver demand. That's a 476% increase in less than 10 years. But we're not even close to peak demand yet. According to projections from the London Bullion Market Association, silver demand for photovoltaic technology will reach 546 million ounces by 2030. That's a compound annual growth rate of 16%. To put that in perspective, total global silver mine production in 2025 was approximately 835 million ounces. If solar alone consumes 546 million ounces by 2030, that leaves only 289 million ounces for everything else. Electronics, electric vehicles, medical devices, jewelry, coins, bars, and all other industrial applications would have to split less than 300 million ounces. That's mathematically impossible without massive price increases to ration supply. Smash the like button if these numbers are starting to make sense. Comment below with your prediction for where silver prices go if this demand actually materializes, and make sure you're subscribed, because this story gets even more intense. Now let's talk about the countries driving this solar explosion. China currently dominates global solar panel manufacturing with about 80% market share across all stages of production. This dominance results from strategic government policies and investments exceeding $50 billion since 2011. China installed 64% of global solar capacity in 2024, but China isn't the only player. The United States currently has 210 gigawatts of total solar capacity, supplying approximately 6% of the country's electricity. The US government's goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2035 is expected to accelerate solar infrastructure expansion dramatically. Europe is aggressively expanding solar capacity to reduce dependence on foreign energy sources amid ongoing geopolitical tensions. India has set a target of adding 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030, having already developed 64 gigawatts of solar power. Every single one of these countries is competing for the same finite silver supply. And here's the problem. Silver mine production cannot scale quickly enough to meet this demand. A new primary silver mine takes 15 to 18 years to develop from discovery through production and requires $500 to $600 million in initial capital investment. Even with silver at $100 per ounce, which makes projects highly profitable, the timeline for new supply remains stubbornly long. There's no magic switch that suddenly produces more silver when prices rise. Now, here's where the situation gets even more complicated. Silver isn't just competing with itself for supply. There are three other massive technology sectors all demanding more silver at the same time. Electric vehicles use 25 to 50 grams of silver per vehicle, roughly double that of traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. As EV production expands globally, automotive sector silver demand could triple by 2030. Data centers and artificial intelligence infrastructure require massive amounts of silver for servers, processors, and cooling systems. Data center electricity consumption is approaching 1,000 terawatt hours annually by 2026, representing 3 to 5% of global electricity demand. All of that computing power requires silver wiring and components. 5G networks, smartphones, medical devices, and advanced electronics all require silver. Industrial fabrication demand reached a record 680.5 million ounces in 2024 and continues climbing. When you add solar, EVs, data centers, and all other industrial uses together, you get total industrial demand that far exceeds what mines can produce. The Silver Institute reports that global silver demand hit a record 1.2 billion ounces in 2024. Mine production was only 890.7 million ounces. That's a deficit of approximately 117.6 million ounces. And that deficit is projected to widen every single year through 2030. Comment below if you're starting to understand why silver could be one of the best investments of this decade, and subscribe if you want to stay ahead of this massive supply-demand imbalance. Now let's address the elephant in the room, silver thrifting. This is the industry term for reducing the amount of silver used per solar panel. Solar manufacturers have been aggressively working on this because silver is expensive, and reducing silver loading per panel directly improves profit margins. A key advancement has been the development of copper cord silver paste, which reduces silver consumption by 30 to 50%, while only decreasing conversion efficiency by less than 1%. This technology has seen rapid evolution since the introduction of heterojunction photovoltaic cells in late 2022. So does silver thrifting solve the demand problem? Not even close. Here's why. Yes, manufacturers are using less silver per panel, but the rate of solar installation growth far exceeds the rate of silver reduction per panel. Think of it like this. If each panel uses 30% less silver, but we're installing 5 times more panels, net silver demand still increases by 250%. The math is brutal. Even with aggressive thrifting, total solar sector silver demand continues climbing because installation growth is exponential while thrifting improvements are linear. There's also a technological limit to how much thrifting is possible. Silver's conductivity is unmatched. You can only reduce silver loading so much before panel efficiency starts declining meaningfully. And in a competitive solar market, where efficiency is everything, manufacturers can't sacrifice performance just to save on silver costs. In fact, next generation N-type solar cells like TOPCon and heterojunction cells actually use 1.5 to 2 times more silver than older PERC cells because they require silver metallization on both the front and rear sides of the cell. These newer, more efficient designs are becoming industry standard, which means per panel silver loading could actually increase for high efficiency products even as basic panels continue thrifting. The research is clear on this point. A study published in Science Direct projects that by 2030, supply may meet only 62 to 70% of total silver demand, which is projected at 48,000 to 54,000 metric tons per year. The solar industry alone is expected to reach 10,000 to 14,000 metric tons annually, representing 29 to 41% of total supply. When one industry consumes nearly half of global production, that's not a balanced market. That's a structural crisis. Now, here's what makes this situation absolutely unprecedented in commodity markets. Solar panel installations are backed by government mandates and climate commitments that cannot easily be reversed. Countries have signed the Paris Climate Agreement, committing to reduce carbon emissions. Those commitments require massive renewable energy build-outs. Solar is the cheapest, fastest to install, and most scalable renewable technology available. Governments are betting their entire energy transition strategies on solar expansion. This isn't speculative demand that disappears when prices rise. This is mandated, policy-driven, structural demand that will persist regardless of silver prices. California mandates 100% carbon-free electricity by 2045. Texas has renewable energy targets supported by grid planning requirements. New York's Climate Leadership Act mandates 85% emissions reduction by 2040. Virginia mandates 100% carbon-free electricity by 2045. These state-level mandates alone support 14% compound annual growth for U.S. solar deployment through 2030, and that's after federal subsidy cuts. The demand is locked in. The policies are enacted. The installations are happening. So where does all this leave silver investors? The solar demand story represents one of the most compelling structural bull cases for any commodity in modern history. We have mandated policy-driven demand growing at double-digit rates annually. We have supply that cannot scale quickly enough due to mining cycle realities. We have technological constraints that limit substitution possibilities. We have multiple competing sectors all demanding more of the same finite resource. And we have a current market deficit that's already 117 million ounces annually and widening. By 2030, if projections hold, solar panels alone will consume 546 million ounces. Add EVs, data centers, electronics, and all other uses, and you're looking at total demand potentially exceeding 1.5 billion ounces annually. With mine production around 800 to 900 million ounces, the gap becomes massive. That gap must be filled by either dramatically higher prices that ration demand, aggressive recycling that doesn't yet exist at scale, or technological breakthroughs that completely replace silver, which currently don't exist. The solar revolution is real. The energy transition is happening, and silver sits at the absolute center of this transformation as the irreplaceable material that makes the entire system work. Every solar panel installed is another 20 grams of silver permanently locked into a system that won't release that metal for 25 to 30 years. With 4,000 gigawatts of new solar capacity coming by 2030, we're talking about hundreds of millions of ounces being absorbed into long-lived infrastructure that removes silver from the available supply pool for decades. This isn't speculation, this isn't hype, this is math. And the math says silver is heading into the most severe supply crisis of any major commodity in the modern era. Make sure you smash that like button, comment your thoughts on whether solar demand will actually reach these projected levels, and subscribe because we'll be tracking every development in this massive story as it unfolds. Solar panels are eating all the silver, and the supply shock is just getting started.